We are in for a ride today because I'm making one of my favourite dishes of all time. And actually it's everyone's favourite, isn't it? I'm making a laksa. Now there's lots of different types of laksa, but the most popular, I guess, would be your ordinary curry laksa. That's that coconutty, sambal-y kind of flavour that you might get in Johor or Singapore or in Malaysia or even a Thai restaurant here and there. So there's a few steps to it, but I don't want you to get concerned because it's all very logical. We can think about it in terms of 4 basic steps. First we make our base, then we make our soup, then it's what goes into the soup and what goes on the soup, the base. Now most people would say that the laksa paste is the base, but actually it starts even before that. The base of a good laksa is actually stock. So we're gonna start by making a simple prawn stock. I've got about 1 kilo of prawns here, and you always buy prawns with the shell on them, because when you've got the shell on, you can use them to make stock. It's as simple as that. So right now, it's just peeling the prawns. It's not the most exciting process, but it's such a waste to buy prawns already peeled because there's so much flavour in crustacean shells. If someone else is getting them, it means you're not. It's hard to overestimate just how important a good stock is. For the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to make it with a simple prawn stock today just to show you how it's done. But quite often, if I'm making a laksa for myself, I'll actually do this entire process with the prawn heads, but I'll start with chicken stock. And that's sort of a chicken and prawn laksa. And the extra flavour you get from making your stock with stock to begin with is really, really nice. The only thing I'm going to do slightly differently to a very traditional laksa is to take some of these prawn shells, and instead of using them all for stock, I'm going to take just a handful and fry them off in some oils to get a really nice prawn oil. I'll add a dash of tomato paste in there to give it some nice red colour and a bit more flavour, a bit of sweetness too. That'll be a really nice addition to my prawn laksa. Let's get this stock on and the oil going. So while my prawn stock and my roasted prawn oil are going on the stove, we'll get to the paste. Now, there's a fair few ingredients in a laksa paste, but it's still a fairly simple thing to make because you just chop them up, you throw them into a food processor, and then you're done. So here's what we've got. We've got some ginger, some fresh turmeric, and the vibrant yellow, almost greeny yellow of the turmeric combined with the deep red of these dried chilies that I've got soaking in some hot water. That's what's going to give us the colour of our laksa, kind of an orangey deep yellow in the final soup. And some galangal. This is like a fragrant version of ginger, if that makes any sense at all. It's almost floral and rosy. Sometimes it's actually called rose ginger. Some lemongrass, some fresh chilies to go along with the dried chilies. I've got some onion. More traditionally you use shallots, but I actually find onion is just fine. You just have to cook it out a little bit longer to get the sweetness. Some candle nuts. These are actually for slightly thickening the soup and giving it a nice texture. If you don't have these, you can use macadamia nuts instead. The only real spice that we're using is a bit of ground coriander seed. This is belacan. It's a shrimp paste that's very, very pungent and fragrant, but it's going to give us a lovely umami or savoury flavour in our paste and soup. Some garlic here as well. And then actually the most important ingredient in a laksa paste is this dried shrimp. The word laksa actually is a bastardization of a Chinese term that means spicy sand. And it's the texture of this shrimp when they get ground up into the paste that gives you the deliciousness or that almost slightly gritty taste of a good laksa. If you need to add a little more liquid to get the paste going in your blender, don't throw away this shrimp steep in liquid. That just goes in top here, just a bit of it, just so that the blades can find the rest of the ingredients. So that's the base done. I've got my stock going over there and it's actually almost finished. It's very quick. Prawn stock only takes about 15-20 minutes. We've also got our paste, so now it's time to make our soup. To make the soup, we start by frying off the paste, or rempah as it would be known in Malaysia. We need oil. Our paste goes straight in, and it's really a process of frying this for as long as possible. About 10 or 15 minutes is about the minimum to really release the fragrances and aromas. And even now, you can start to smell that fragrance coming through, but frying this rempah for a while is what's going to deepen and develop the flavour of the laksa. And Unfortunately, it also means you've got to keep moving it a fair bit so it doesn't spit too much. That looks pretty good, so now it's time to put our stock in. Strain in the prawn stock. I'll just put the lid on, cook that, just for a little while, about 10-15 minutes. Now for our coconut milk. And of course, to finish off this soup, we've got to season it. And that involves tasting it, and then adding some sugar, a little bit of salt, just to balance the taste of our soup base. Our soup's ready, and now we're on to step 3, and that's what goes in the soup. The things that go in the soup are actually pretty simple. We've got the prawns we took out before, we've got some fried tofu puffs, and these are amazing in laksa. They're kind of little sponges and they soak up all of the delicious soup, so they're an absolute must. Some bean sprouts, and then 2 kinds of noodles. We've got Hokkien noodles, egg noodles, and also these rice noodles as well. Now, the way you treat each of these things is each slightly different. I'm gonna put these puffs straight into the soup. I'm gonna cut them in half first, put them into soup and let them heat through in the soup. The prawns, I'm gonna devein those and slightly butterfly them as well so that they kind of curl up a little bit and give us a nice texture. And they'll be heated in the soup just until they're barely cooked, but I'll do that when we're ready to serve. The bean sprouts and the 2 kinds of noodles, I'm actually gonna blanch them separately, each just in some hot water. The rice noodles separately, the bean sprouts separately, just for a few seconds. And these fried fish cakes here, you can buy them from any Asian grocer, and they just need to be sliced up and they can be blanched in the same water as the bean sprouts. And last but certainly not least, what goes on the laksa, step 4. And here we have some of the most important ingredients that bring everything together. For starters, the prawn oil that we made at the very beginning, my own kind of personal touch. Some hard-boiled eggs, a bit of coriander to go on top. And this is absolutely not just a garnish. It's Vietnamese mint in Australian terms, but most people in English and Malaysia know this as laksa leaf. It is the defining flavour of a laksa. So we finely shred it and then we just put it on at the very end. And last but not least, just a spoon of sambal that goes onto the top of the laksa, and it changes the flavour completely. And once you have everything together, all that's left to do is assemble it.